The hidden message. Alex Carter had always been fascinated by history, but his latest discovery had taken his curiosity to a whole new level. It all started with a routine archaeological dig in a remote desert. The area was known for its ancient ruins, but no one had ever expected to find anything of significant importance. Yet, as Alex and his team dug through the sand, they unearthed a strange object. It was a large stone tablet, covered in intricate symbols and markings that didn't match anything they had ever seen before. At first, Alex thought it might be an old relic from one of the many lost civilizations that once thrived in the desert. But as he carefully brushed away the sand, he realized that the markings were unlike anything from recorded history. These symbols seemed to glow faintly, and the more he examined them, the more he felt a strange pull, as though the object was calling out to him. "Look at this," Alex muttered to his assistant, Emma, who was helping him catalog the find. Her face lit up with curiosity as she stepped closer to inspect the tablet. "It's definitely not from this time period," she said, her voice filled with awe. "These symbols are ancient, but they don't match anything we know." Alex nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. Could this be a new discovery? A lost piece of history that had been hidden for centuries? Or was it something else, something even more mysterious? He gently picked up the tablet, feeling the weight of it in his hands. It felt different from any stone he had ever touched. There was an energy about it, a sense of purpose that made him feel both excited and nervous. He carefully set it down on the table in their camp, pulling out his portable scanner to get a closer look at the markings. As the scanner hummed to life, Alex studied the results on his tablet screen. The symbols were not just random shapes. They were a code, a language waiting to be deciphered. But even more puzzling was the hidden message that appeared on the scanner. "The legacy awaits. Find the key." Alex's heart skipped a beat. The message was clear, but it made no sense. What legacy? And what key was it referring to? His mind raced as he tried to make sense of the cryptic words. Could this be some kind of treasure map? A hidden warning? Or something more? He turned to Emma, his face a mix of excitement and confusion. "Do you see this? What do you think it means?" Emma's eyes widened as she read the message on the screen. "It's almost like it's meant for us to find," she said slowly, as if testing the words in her mind. "But find what? And who left it?" Before Alex could answer, the ground beneath them suddenly shook. The camp trembled as a low rumble echoed through the desert. At first, Alex thought it was just a minor earthquake, but then the rumbling grew louder, and the air seemed to thicken with tension. He looked up, his heart racing as a strange shadow appeared in the sky. "Is that a ship?" Emma gasped, her voice trembling. Alex's eyes followed her gaze, and his breath caught in his throat. Above them, a massive ship hovered silently in the sky, its shape unlike anything he had ever seen. It was sleek, dark, and seemed to pulse with an eerie light. It was too advanced, too alien to be anything from Earth. The ship was silent, yet Alex felt a growing sense of dread. Who was aboard that ship? And why was it here, at this exact moment? "Emma, we need to get out of here," Alex said, grabbing her arm. His voice was shaky, but he knew they had to leave before they were caught. Whoever, or whatever, was watching them had to be dangerous. But before they could move, a voice boomed from above, sending a chill down Alex's spine. "The key has been found. Prepare for the consequences." The voice wasn't human. It was mechanical, deep, and cold, echoing through the air as if coming from a source beyond the stars. Alex's heart pounded in his chest. The message from the tablet, "Find the key." It was no longer just a cryptic warning. It was a command. The ship above them began to descend slowly, its dark shape growing larger and larger. A sense of inevitability filled the air. Alex realized with a growing sense of horror that their discovery was not an isolated event. They had unwittingly opened a door that had been sealed for a reason. The hidden legacy of humanity was no longer just a mystery. It was a call to something far greater and far more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. "Alex, what's happening? What do we do?" Emma's voice was a whisper, full of fear. Alex took a deep breath. "I don't know, but we can't back down now. We've uncovered something far bigger than us. Whatever happens next, we're in this together." The shadow of the ship loomed closer, and the world around them seemed to fall into silence. The legacy of humanity had been found, and it was clear that the world and the galaxy would never be the same again. The search for answers. The strange voice still echoed in Alex's mind, a chilling reminder of what they had just unleashed. The ship hovered silently above them, its massive shape blocking out the stars. Alex's pulse raced as he stared at it, his thoughts racing faster than his heart. What was that message? And why had the ship come now? "Alex, what do we do?" Emma's voice trembled as she looked up at the ship, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. "We need to find out more," Alex replied, his voice steady despite the storm of questions swirling in his mind. "That artifact, those symbols, it's all connected. We can't just sit here and wait. We need to understand what we've stumbled upon." The air around them felt charged, like something was about to happen. Alex glanced back at the tablet, still lying on the table where they had left it. The message was still visible on the screen. "The legacy awaits. Find the key." Alex didn't know what the key was, but he was sure that it was linked to the ship. Somehow, the ancient artifact had called it here. He had to know more, but how? And what was the ship waiting for? "We should head back to the research center," Alex said, his mind already working on the next steps. "I need to look at this artifact under more controlled conditions. We might have missed something." Emma hesitated, looking up at the ship. "But what if they're watching us? What if it's dangerous?" Alex met her gaze, trying to reassure her. "We don't have any choice. We need answers. Whatever's happening now, it's bigger than anything we've ever encountered. And we can't back out now." Reluctantly, Emma nodded. Together, they packed up the equipment and made their way back to the research center, their footsteps quick but cautious. As they walked, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them from the sky. The ship hadn't moved since they saw it, but the presence of it was overwhelming. Every step they took felt like they were walking into the unknown. At the research center, they set up a secure workspace. Alex activated the scanning equipment and began to analyze the artifact again, this time using more advanced tools. The symbols on the tablet were more complex than anything he had seen before, and he quickly realized that they weren't just a language. They were a map to something. "Look at this," Alex muttered, pointing at the screen where the symbols had shifted into a new formation. A detailed star chart appeared, showing several locations scattered across the galaxy. The coordinates seemed random at first, but Alex's heart began to race as he recognized some of the planets on the map. They were ancient worlds, lost to history. "These places, they shouldn't exist anymore," Alex said, his voice barely a whisper. "These planets were destroyed centuries ago. How could they be on this map?" Emma leaned in closer, her eyes narrowing. "But if these places are really still out there, why were they forgotten? Why hide them?" Before Alex could answer, the voice from the ship returned, booming from the distance with the same chilling tone. "The key is within reach. Prepare yourself." The words hit Alex like a wave. The key. It was not just an object. It was something powerful, something that could change everything. Alex's fingers trembled as he scrolled through the star chart, finding one location marked in bold. It was the last place on the map, a planet that had been erased from history. But according to the tablet, it was still there, waiting to be uncovered. "That's where we need to go," Alex said, his voice firm with determination. "We need to find this planet. The key is there." Emma looked at him, her face a mixture of concern and excitement. "But if we go there, what do you think we'll find?" Alex swallowed hard, his mind racing with the possibilities. I don't know, but we can't turn back now. Whatever the key is, we need to find it before someone else does. We've already set this in motion. The sound of the ship's engines echoed in the distance, a constant reminder that they were not alone. The galaxy was watching, and they were about to uncover a truth that had been hidden for centuries. "Let's get ready," Alex said, turning toward the equipment. "We leave at first light." As they made preparations for their journey, a sense of unease settled over Alex. The more he thought about the message, the more he realized that they weren't just searching for some ancient artifact. They were stepping into a war. The key, whatever it was, had the power to shake the future of the galaxy. And they weren't the only ones searching for it. The time for questions was over. Soon, they would have answers. But would they be prepared for what they uncovered? Into the unknown. The morning light crept over the horizon, casting long shadows across the barren landscape as Alex and Emma stood by their ship. The transport vessel, a sleek, silver craft designed for quick travel across the stars, sat ready for the journey ahead. Yet, despite the calm exterior of the ship, a storm raged inside Alex. They were about to journey to a forgotten world, one that should not even exist. What they were about to find was unknown, but Alex had a feeling it would change everything. "Everything's set," Emma said, her voice steady despite the uncertainty in her eyes. She looked at Alex, waiting for any last instructions. Alex nodded, his mind still swirling. He glanced back at the research center one final time, the small building barely visible against the vastness of the land. It felt as though they were leaving behind the world they knew to venture into something much darker, much more dangerous. "We have one chance to get this right," Alex said quietly. "Once we're out there, there's no turning back. Keep your guard up, no matter what happens." Emma nodded, though her gaze lingered on the horizon, where the shadow of the unknown loomed. She wasn't just worried about what they might find. She was terrified of the ship. The same one that had been watching them. The one that had responded to their call. But Alex knew, deep down, that they had no other choice. They had already set the wheels in motion by unlocking the artifact's secrets. The galaxy was waiting, and whatever this key was, it had to be stopped or claimed before it fell into the wrong hands. With a final look at the barren planet they were leaving behind, Alex and Emma climbed aboard the vessel. The engines hummed to life, and within moments, they were rising off the ground, leaving the planet below to disappear into the distance. The journey to the planet marked on the star chart would take several days, but Alex didn't mind the time alone. The silence inside the cockpit was almost calming, allowing him to focus on the map that flickered before him. Every few minutes, he would glance up at the stars, making sure the ship remained on course, but most of his attention stayed on the chart and the coordinates leading them to a place that shouldn't exist. As the hours passed, Alex couldn't help but think back to the message from the ship. "Prepare yourself." It sent chills down his spine every time he thought of it. Was it a warning? Or was it a message, one that urged them to come closer? Whoever, or whatever, was waiting for them had been watching for a long time. Emma leaned over from her seat, breaking the silence. "Do you think the ship is still out there, watching us?" Alex glanced at the empty space outside the ship's windows. "I don't know. I hope so. It might be our only chance to figure out what's really going on." The minutes stretched into hours. Then, as they crossed into deep space, the familiar stars started to shift. The ship's instruments began to beep, a low hum vibrating through the cockpit. Alex stared at the screen, a knot of unease tightening in his stomach. "Something's wrong," he muttered, adjusting the controls. "We're too close." The star chart on the display flickered, its coordinates shifting rapidly, as if something was distorting space itself. Suddenly, the ship lurched violently. Alex grabbed the controls, fighting to steady the ship. The alarms blared, and the ship's systems warned them of a malfunction. "Hold on," Alex shouted as he pulled the vessel back onto its course. Emma clutched the seat in front of her, her eyes wide with fear. What's happening? It's the planet, Alex said, his voice strained. We're entering its atmosphere. No, it's pulling us in. Before Emma could respond, the ship was engulfed in an eerie green glow. The once peaceful darkness of space was suddenly illuminated by a strange otherworldly light. The ship shook again, this time harder, as though the very fabric of space was being warped around them. Alex could barely hold the controls steady. The green light intensified, and the stars around them began to twist and blur. Then, with a sudden jolt, everything stopped. The ship was now surrounded by a thick, swirling fog, glowing faintly. It was no longer a clear view of space, but something entirely different. The view outside was obscured by mist, and the eerie glow seemed to pulse with energy. Alex and Emma stared out the window, stunned. They were no longer in the cold emptiness of space. They had arrived. What is this place? Emma whispered, her voice trembling with awe. I don't know, Alex replied, his own voice barely a whisper. But we need to move quickly. Whatever is here, it doesn't want us to be found. The ship's hull began to creak, as though something was pressing against it. A deep rumble filled the air, growing louder with every passing second. Get ready, Alex said, his voice tense. We're about to find out what's really waiting for us here. As the ship descended into the thick fog, the ground below began to take form. Alex could barely make out the outlines of towering structures, ancient buildings that seemed to stretch into infinity. The planet, once thought to be destroyed, was still very much alive. But in what state? They were no longer simply searching for an artifact. They were standing on the edge of a secret history that had been buried for centuries, and something was watching them. The ancient secrets. The ship's descent was slow, as if it were being drawn deeper into the planet's strange atmosphere. The fog that surrounded them was thick, but not natural. It had an almost sentient quality to it, swirling around them like a living thing. Alex's eyes were fixed on the view ahead as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. The structures below them were massive, made of materials that didn't look like anything he had ever encountered before. The architecture was unlike any civilization known to humanity, alien, yet somehow familiar. Look at that, Emma whispered, her voice tinged with awe. Alex's gaze followed her finger, and for a moment, his breath caught in his throat. In the distance, towering spires rose from the mist. They were carved from stone but shimmered with an almost otherworldly glow, as though they were alive and pulsing with energy. The buildings seemed to stretch on for miles, each one more complex and intricate than the last. It was like they had stumbled into an ancient city, one that hadn't seen the light of day for centuries. Where are we? Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex didn't know how to answer. It was clear now. This wasn't just a forgotten world. It was a hidden place, a lost civilization waiting to be uncovered. He could feel the weight of history pressing down on him. They were about to uncover something that had been hidden from the universe for eons. The ship's autopilot kicked in, guiding them toward what appeared to be the heart of the city. The fog parted just enough for them to see the grand structures below. The buildings had strange symbols etched into their surfaces, glowing with an ancient energy. Some of them seemed to pulse in rhythm, almost as if they were alive, responding to their arrival. We're not alone here, Alex said, his voice steady but filled with concern. Emma nodded, her eyes wide. Something is waiting for us. The ship touched down gently on the ground, the hum of the engines fading as they made contact. The moment the ship was secure, Alex and Emma opened the hatch, stepping out into the unknown. The air was thick with mystery, and the silence around them was oppressive. There was no wind, no sound, only the steady hum of the planet's energy, vibrating beneath their feet. The moment their feet touched the ground, they both froze. In the distance, at the center of the city, a massive structure stood. It was a pyramid-like building, with smooth, dark walls that seemed to shimmer with an eerie light. At the top of the pyramid, A beam of energy shot into the sky, cutting through the fog like a lighthouse in a storm. "That's it," Alex said, pointing toward the pyramid. "That's where we need to go." Without another word, they began their journey toward the pyramid. The city was silent, but as they walked, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The ancient structures around them seemed to lean in, their stone faces staring down at them, as though they were guardians, protecting the secrets of the lost civilization. The streets were narrow, winding between the towering structures. The further they went, the more the air felt charged, as though the planet itself was holding its breath. Alex's heart raced as they approached the base of the pyramid. The beam of light at the top had grown brighter, as if beckoning them forward. Emma reached for Alex's hand, her grip tight with uncertainty. "Do you feel that?" she asked, her voice tense. Alex nodded, his own senses on high alert. "We're not alone." Just as they reached the base of the pyramid, a sound echoed through the air, distant but unmistakable. The ground beneath their feet trembled, and the sky above them flickered with strange energy. The beam of light from the pyramid pulsed brighter, faster, as if responding to their presence. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the city. It was quick, too quick to be natural, and it seemed to blend with the fog. Alex spun around, his hand instinctively reaching for the weapon at his side. Emma did the same, but their eyes were wide with fear and confusion. The shadow moved again, and this time they caught a glimpse of it. It wasn't a creature, it wasn't a person. It was a ship, massive, dark, and shaped like a claw. It hovered above the city, its presence casting an ominous shadow over everything below. The ship seemed to pulse with the same energy as the pyramid, and it radiated a feeling of danger. "It's here," Emma breathed, her voice barely audible. Before Alex could respond, a voice, deep, ancient, and powerful, echoed through the air, booming from every direction. "You should not have come." The voice wasn't just heard, it was felt. It reverberated in their bones, shaking them to their core. The city around them seemed to pulse in response, as though the buildings themselves were alive and aware of their presence. The pyramid's beam of light intensified, now nearly blinding in its brightness. Alex and Emma shielded their eyes, feeling the heat radiating from it. The voice continued, "This is not your place. You are not welcome here." For a moment, everything was still. The air was thick with tension, and the only sound was the hum of the pyramid's energy. Then, without warning, the ground beneath them rumbled once again, and the shadow of the massive ship moved closer, hovering just above the pyramid. Its presence was overwhelming, as though the very weight of the galaxy was bearing down on them. Alex and Emma exchanged a glance, fear and determination flashing in their eyes. They had come this far, and they couldn't turn back now. "We have to get inside," Alex said, his voice steady but urgent. They ran toward the pyramid, the eerie glow guiding their way. Behind them, the voice echoed again. "You have no idea what you've awakened." The door to the pyramid opened before them, as though it had been waiting for them. The moment they crossed the threshold, the world outside fell silent. Inside, the walls were covered in strange symbols, glowing with the same light as the structures outside. The air was thick with an ancient power, one that seemed to recognize them, as though it knew who they were before they even stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind them, cutting off the world outside. They were now trapped in the heart of the pyramid, with the entire galaxy watching them. But Alex knew one thing for certain. The secrets hidden inside were about to change everything. The awakening. The air inside the pyramid was thick with energy, pulsing with a rhythm Alex couldn't quite understand. Every step they took seemed to echo in the silence, amplified by the ancient walls that surrounded them. The symbols on the walls flickered like faint stars, glowing in patterns that seemed to shift and change with every movement they made. It was as if the pyramid itself was alive, reacting to their presence. Alex and Emma stood still for a moment, their eyes scanning the dark interior. There was no sound, no hum of machinery, no breath of wind. Just the constant, almost oppressive sense of being watched, as though the walls themselves were alive, scrutinizing them. "We're not alone here," Emma whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Alex nodded, his hand instinctively going to the weapon at his side. The pyramid's walls seemed to pulse with energy, each thrum sending vibrations through their bones. But there was something else, something more. The deeper they moved into the structure, the stronger the sense of ancient power became. The pyramid wasn't just a building. It was a vessel, a keeper of forgotten knowledge. As they moved deeper into the pyramid, the light grew brighter, illuminating a chamber ahead. It was massive, much larger than anything they had seen so far. At the center of the chamber stood an enormous stone platform, and on it lay a figure. The figure was humanoid, but unlike any human they had ever seen. Its features were sharp and angular, its skin a deep metallic blue that shimmered in the light. The air around the platform crackled with energy, and the moment they stepped closer, the symbols on the walls flared brightly, responding to their movement. Alex's heart raced as he realized that they had stumbled upon something far more significant than they had imagined. This wasn't just a forgotten race. It was a civilization that had left behind an enormous legacy, and it was waiting to be uncovered. "Who? What is that?" Emma breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the figure. He could feel the power radiating from it, the ancient energy that seemed to surround it. The figure was lying in a deep, suspended state, almost as if it were in a stasis. It was humanoid, but the markings on its skin resembled the same symbols they had seen etched on the walls of the pyramid. Before Alex could speak, a sudden shift in the air caught their attention. The ground beneath them rumbled, a low guttural sound emanating from deep within the pyramid. The lights flickered, and the symbols on the walls shifted again, glowing brighter. Then the figure on the platform stirred. The movement was slow at first, almost imperceptible. The air grew thick with anticipation, and Alex felt his heart race. He couldn't tear his eyes away as the figure's hand twitched, then slowly moved, fingers flexing as if it were awakening from a long slumber. "Alex." Emma's voice was a mere whisper, her breath catching in her throat. "What's happening?" Alex's gaze remained fixed on the figure, his mind racing. The figure's eyes slowly opened, revealing bright, glowing pupils that seemed to pierce through the darkness of the room. It was alive. "Welcome," a voice echoed through the chamber, the sound vibrating in their bones. It wasn't just spoken, it was felt, as if the words were etched directly into their minds. The voice was deep, ancient, and filled with the weight of ages. The figure on the platform slowly sat up, its movements fluid but deliberate. Alex and Emma froze, unable to move as the figure's glowing eyes fixed on them. It didn't speak again, but its gaze was enough to send a chill through their spines. It knew who they were. The chamber began to hum, and the walls around them shifted. The symbols on the walls rearranged themselves, forming patterns that seemed to make sense, almost as if they were a language. The energy in the room increased, growing more intense with each passing moment. Alex's heart raced. Something had been triggered. Something had awakened. The figure stood up from the platform, its towering form radiating with power. As it stood, the chamber seemed to reverberate with a deep, resonating energy. The air around them seemed to bend, and for a moment, Alex couldn't tell where the figure ended and the energy of the pyramid began. It was as though the two were one and the same. "What is this place?" Alex asked, his voice hoarse. He knew he had to speak, to understand what was happening, but the words felt hollow in the vast chamber. The figure didn't answer directly. Instead, it raised its arm, and the symbols on the walls flared brighter, revealing a massive holographic map above them. It was a map of the galaxy, but it wasn't like anything Alex had seen before. The stars, the planets, they all glowed with a strange ethereal light, and there were countless points on the map, each one pulsing with energy. "Your people are not the first to visit this place." The figure spoke again, its voice resonating in Alex's mind. "We have been waiting for your kind, waiting for the one who would awaken us." Alex's mind raced. This wasn't just some ancient relic. It was a beacon calling out to humanity. But why? What was it that had been waiting for them? And what exactly had they awakened? The figure's eyes glowed brighter, and for a moment, the room seemed to warp around them. The map above them flickered, and new points of light began to appear on the map. Alex could feel the energy building, growing stronger. "We are the architects," the figure continued. "We built this galaxy. We shaped it. And now, the time has come for you to take your place." Alex's stomach churned. This wasn't just a lost civilization. It was something far more powerful, something that had the ability to shape the very fabric of reality itself. They had stumbled upon something that had been hidden for eons. And now, the architects were waking, and they were calling for humanity to join them. The room began to shake, the ground beneath them trembling as though something enormous was stirring deep below the surface. The energy was building to a crescendo, and Alex realized with a sudden, horrifying clarity that whatever they had awakened was far beyond their control. "Prepare yourself," the figure intoned, its voice now deep and foreboding. "The galaxy will never be the same." The architect's revelation. The room trembled once more, its walls vibrating with the intensity of the awakening energy. Alex felt the hair on the back of his neck stand up as the chamber seemed to come alive around them. The holographic map flickered again, and new lights began to appear, thousands of them. The galaxy was now revealed in a way Alex had never imagined. It was not just a star system. It was a sprawling network, interwoven with vast connections, each point representing something far greater than simple planets. The figure before them raised its hand, and the map's glow intensified, casting strange, shifting shadows across the walls. The power was almost overwhelming, a force that seemed to resonate with everything around them. Alex and Emma stood motionless, their eyes fixed on the hologram and the figure before them. "We were the first creators," the architect's voice rang out once more, filling the room. "The first to bring life to this universe. We shaped the stars, the planets, and the civilizations that would rise. We were the guardians of all, until we vanished. But now, the time has come for the universe to remember its creators." Alex's mind raced with the implications. These beings, the architects, had built this galaxy. They were the ones who had set everything into motion. But they were also the ones who had disappeared. Why? And why were they calling to humanity now? The architect's glowing eyes fixed on Alex. It wasn't just observing him. It felt as though the figure was reaching into his very thoughts, reading the questions that had formed in his mind. "You wonder why we have waited so long," it continued, its voice calm and unhurried. "Humanity, the forgotten children of the stars, has always been close, but never quite ready. But now you are ready. You have awakened us, and we shall give you the tools to fulfill your destiny." Alex's heart skipped a beat. Tools. What did it mean by that? The idea of wielding such power seemed both thrilling and terrifying at the same time. The architect extended its arm again, and this time, the floor beneath Alex and Emma began to shift. A part of the stone moved aside, revealing a hidden compartment. Within it lay an object, an artifact, glowing softly with an eerie light. The moment Alex laid his eyes on it, he felt a surge of power. It was as though the object was calling to him, pulling at something deep inside of him. "This is the key," the architect said, its voice now resonating in Alex's mind with greater intensity. "With it, you will unlock the true potential of your people. You will no longer be bound by the limitations of your world. The galaxy will be open to you. All that you must do is choose. Will you claim your birthright, or will you allow the universe to fall back into chaos?" Alex stepped forward, his hand outstretched. He could feel the energy radiating from the artifact, drawing him in. It was so powerful that it was almost overwhelming, as though the weight of the universe itself rested in his palm. Emma, standing beside him, reached out to stop him. "Alex, be careful," she warned, her voice tinged with fear. "What if this isn't what we think it is? What if?" But Alex was already too far gone. The pull of the artifact was too strong, and before he could second-guess himself, his fingers closed around it. The moment he made contact, a flash of light erupted from the key, blinding them both. For a moment, everything went silent. The hum of the pyramid, the energy in the air, all of it seemed to disappear. Alex's senses were overwhelmed by a flood of images, feelings, and sounds. He saw the galaxy from above, the stars burning brightly, and the various civilizations that lived among them. But among them, a dark presence stirred, a threat unlike anything he had ever imagined. The architect's voice filled his mind once again, but this time it was accompanied by a sense of urgency. "The universe is in peril," it said. "An ancient enemy has awoken, and it seeks to undo all that we have built. You must be the ones to stop it. Humanity must rise to the challenge, or all will be lost." Alex's vision cleared, and he found himself standing once more in the pyramid. But something was different. He felt different. The artifact pulsed in his hand, its energy flowing through him, connecting him to something much greater than himself. He could feel the galaxy, the vastness of space, all at his fingertips. But with that power came a heavy burden. The architect's words echoed in his mind. Humanity must rise, or all will be lost. Emma stepped forward, her face pale but resolute. "Alex, are you okay? What did you see?" "I saw it," he whispered, his voice distant. "An ancient enemy, something dark and powerful. It's coming, and we have to stop it." The architect's glowing eyes turned toward them, its presence looming large in the room. "You have seen the truth. The time for hesitation is over. The galaxy is on the brink of destruction, and only you can stop it. Humanity must rise to its true potential." Alex felt the weight of the decision before him. He had the power to change everything, to save the galaxy, but it wouldn't come without a cost. The darkness that threatened to destroy everything had been dormant for eons, and now it was stirring, ready to reclaim what had once been lost. The question was, would humanity be ready to face it? The chamber around them seemed to darken, the energy becoming more oppressive as the architect's gaze sharpened. The echoes of the past and the future collided, and Alex realized that this was not just about him. This was about the survival of everything, life itself. "We are the forgotten race," the architect said, its voice quiet but filled with a deep sense of finality. "We cannot rise again. But you, humanity, can. Will you stand with us, or will you let the darkness consume all?" The weight of the decision pressed down on Alex's chest. His hand still gripped the key, and he knew that the moment to choose had arrived. The final decision. The weight of the moment felt unbearable. The room, once filled with the hum of energy and the distant echo of forgotten ages, now felt cold, heavy with the presence of the architect, and the fate of the universe hanging in the balance. Alex stood there, holding the key, his fingers trembling slightly as the pulsating energy within it thrummed against his palm. Emma stood beside him, her eyes wide with concern and confusion. "Alex, what do we do now? This power, it's too much for anyone, even you. Are we sure we're ready for this?" Alex turned to her, his face a mask of uncertainty. He could see the fear in her eyes, but also something else. Trust. She trusted him, even when he didn't know if he trusted himself. He glanced back at the architect, who stood silent, its glowing eyes fixed on him, waiting. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next move. "This is it, Emma," Alex said quietly. "This is the chance to change everything, to save the galaxy, to save humanity. We can't walk away from this." The architect's voice once again filled the room, but this time it was different. There was a sense of urgency of time running out. Humanity's fate rests in your hands, Alex. You are the last hope of the galaxy. The darkness is already on the move, and only you have the power to stop it. The key will unlock the path forward, but only if you choose to wield it. Alex's mind raced as the weight of the decision pressed against him. What would happen if they chose wrong? What if they were wrong to trust this strange, ancient force? The consequences of failure would be catastrophic, not just for humanity, but for every living being in the galaxy. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to think past the fear and doubt. It was clear that the architect wasn't giving them a choice. The universe had already been set in motion, and this was the only path forward. If they didn't act now, they would have no chance against the darkness that was coming. I have to do this, Alex said firmly, looking at Emma one last time. We have no choice. If we don't stand up to this now, it's over. The galaxy, humanity, everything will be lost. Emma looked at him for a long moment, her eyes searching his face, before giving him a slow nod. I trust you, Alex. I'm with you. With a deep breath, Alex raised the key higher, feeling the intense power flow through him once more. The energy felt different now, more real, more alive. It was like the key had become a part of him, fusing with his very soul. The room around him pulsed with energy as the ancient force of the architect surged through him. The architect's voice resonated in his mind again. You have chosen wisely, Alex. Humanity has awakened. The galaxy is in your hands. A pulse of light erupted from the key, blinding them both. The light spread out, engulfing the chamber, and then there was nothing but silence. When Alex opened his eyes again, he found himself standing in the heart of the galaxy, on the very edge of space itself. The stars stretched out before him like an endless sea, and in the distance he could see the shadows of ships, fleets, and battleships gathering on the horizon. The galaxy was at war, and the enemy was drawing closer. Your destiny has begun, the architect's voice said, now distant but clear. The dark force that threatens us all is within your grasp. The time has come to make your move. Alex turned to Emma, who stood beside him, equally awestruck. The weight of their journey had just begun, and the burden was heavy. But now, with the key in his hands and the power of the architects coursing through him, he knew that there was no turning back. Humanity had awakened, and now they would fight.